Here we go. We're back talking a little bit more about Techeilles. Yes, don't worry, we didn't finish yet last week. Last week we just had a mere 17 proofs as to why the murex is the correct Techeilles, and we had a mere 12 proofs that the murex was not Techeilles. But guys, there's plenty more where that came from. So let's keep on going and trying to understand, have we found Techeilles or have we not found Techeilles? Furthermore, we're going to focus a little bit now on, even if it's true, let's say in theory, we found the perfect species and it matched every Gemara, perfect. Every Rishon, perfect. Personally, I believe that's impossible, because a lot of the Rishonim are, I think there's contradictions and machlokes between all the Gemaras and all the Rishonim, etc. But in theory, it was possible for everything to shtim. Does that mean that yes, you could have Techeilles? Or is there still a problem? Even if we found that perfect match in theory, would we still be allowed to have Techeilles according to everybody, or is it not so simple? Do we need a mesorah to have Techeilles? So we know there's a concept, for example, when it comes to the kashrus of birds. Kashrus of birds, we need a mesorah. I don't care, you can't rock up with a bird. I don't care if you want to call it a turkey or not a turkey. We're not, without focusing on the fact that we're in the end of November right now, we're not going to, Lamaisa, we say birds need a mesorah. But when it comes to, let's say, animals, for example, does it chew its cud? Does it have split hooves? Then b'pashtus, it's kosher even without a mesorah. Yes, I know about the Chazon Ish discussing who's not so happy with the zebu and the buffalo, the bison. The Chazon Ish is not happy and says it needs a mesorah. But the pashtus is, Rabbi say the pashtus is that Chazon Ish is a big chiddush. It's a big chiddush, the Chazon Ish. The pashtus is you chew your cud, you got split hooves, you're kosher, baby. Let's eat. And bison burgers are good. Sorry, Chazon Ish. Okay, so what would you expect about the Techeilles? Would you expect it to be more akin to the birds that needs a mesorah, or would you expect it to be more akin to the animals that are just kosher? As long as you fit the simanim, you're good. So I would have expected that it would be more like the animals. You fit the simanim, you're good. Zakt the Beis Halevi, the father of risk. What does the Beis Halevi say? So the Beis Halevi says, that's always the question, what did the Beis Halevi actually say? There's two versions of the Beis Halevi. I'll first tell you the more popular version of the Beis Halevi. The more popular version of the Beis Halevi is that we have a mesorah that we don't have the Techeilles. So we have a mesorah that we don't have the Techeilles. And if we have a mesorah that we don't have the Techeilles, I don't care, bring me all the rayas in the world, bring me all the simanim in the world. Our mesorah is we don't have the Techeilles, and you know what mesorah is in Klal Yisrael? Well, it's that much more so in Brisk. So if we have a mesorah that we don't have the Techeilles, sorry Charlie, not doing it, not going there anywhere, not accepting it. That is the first version of the Beis Halevi, and that is the way that most of the briskers say it over. There is a second version of the Beis Halevi. The second version of the Beis Halevi is, by the way, just a little history. I don't know where he gets it from. It could be that since I have the question was, where does the Beis Halevi get it from that you need a mesorah? This is a hypothesis. I didn't see it written anywhere. But I was thinking maybe the Beis Halevi holds, since there's machlokes rishonim all over the place about how we qualify what exactly is this chilazon, perhaps what do you do with the samanim, etc. So perhaps the Beis Halevi holds that since we don't know the answer to those safekas, and we have no mesorah on how to be machriya those safekas, therefore it's impossible to find something that's going to work, and therefore it's like there's a mesorah that we don't have the chilazon. That is my hypothesis as what's shot in the Beis Halevi, but I agree it is a chiddush.
Just realize that the Beis Halevi, one is in Ksav and one is al pi shmua.
Correct.
We don't have Beis Halevi.
But correct. This one, which is al pi shmua, but this is the one that most of the descendants, most of the briskers go with that version. There is another version. And by the way, you got to realize the Beis Halevi said this when? Around the time of the Regina, when he came with his cuttlefish, right? The second, 1887, obviously. So the Beis Levi, the second version, and this is the way that the Reginer quotes it in his sefer, is that the cuttlefish cannot possibly be the chilazon. Why? Because the cuttlefish was around for generations. It was around for dairis. And if the previous generation, which was much wiser than us and had greater ahavas mitzvahs than us, they didn't go and start making techeilles with cuttlefish, and the cuttlefish was around, that is a mesorah that the cuttlefish is not the correct techeilles. Now, if we go with this version, once again, both versions knock out the cuttlefish. But the first version also knocks out the murex. The second version does not knock out the murex because they didn't have the murex around in random places in Europe throughout the generations. They did not have murex around. And therefore, it wouldn't be a kasha on the... And we don't have the Beis Levi against them. Now, the second one seems to be more mistaber, because once again, the first one's very difficult to understand. The second one, there's a svara. They didn't use the cuttlefish. Must be they disqualified it. Why? I don't know why, but it was disqualified by the previous generations. We're not going to go and start to adopt this practice. Now, but on the other hand, the briskers seem to go with the first. So tzarachin exactly what is the real pshat in the Beis Levi. But I would point out, even if the first pshat is the real pshat in the Beis Levi, we're not all bound by what the Beis Levi says. Maybe the briskers are bound by what the Beis Levi says. We're not all bound by the Beis Levi. Let's say the Beis Levi held there's no mesorah. There's a mesorah that it's not good and we don't have it. It doesn't necessarily prove that that's the only way to go. Okay, let's keep on going. This is a big one, which I don't know why it's such a big one, but it's a big one. In the Medrash Rabbah and also in the Medrash Tanchuma, it says that the Techeilles was nignaz. The Techeilles was hidden. It was taken away. It was nignaz. So the anti-camp will therefore say, well, now, that what does it mean when it's nignaz? It means it's gone. It's gone until Mashiach comes. And therefore, I don't care, you can bring as many simanim as you want, as many archaeological facts as you want. The Medrash says it's nignaz, it is gone. The pro-camp will defend that, it was missing for 1,300 years, That's pretty nignaz, 1,300 years is not like 12 minutes, It was nignaz, and now it's no longer nignaz. Second of all, since when do we learn halacha from midrashim? We generally do not learn halacha from midrashim, and therefore it was nignaz, and we're not going to learn halacha from midrashim, and therefore, not a good kash on me. The pro-camp will ask, if it really is nignaz, so why is it on the list of things that are nignaz? I forgot which Masechta it was, but there's a list of things that were nignaz, the Mata Aaron and the Aaron and etc. There are all these things that were nignaz, and the chilazon isn't on there. So you see that it must not be nignaz. Now that
can't be a question because the Gemaras that are nignaz, that was dealing with Zman Gemara. The murex is at least in the 600s after this. Exactly.
So that kasha is very easily defended by the anti-camp. It's going to say, wait a second, the pro-camp is going to say, you're going to tell me that's a kasha, that it's not on the list? How could it be on the list? We see that there's Amoraim, there's Tanaim, all Amoraim had it. The late Rabbi Chai had it. The Rabbanan Savrai had it. So obviously it's not going to be on the list in the Tanaic times of that was nignaz. It wasn't nignaz yet. So therefore you can't bring such a kasha. The anti-camp will argue with once again we tried to defend by saying it was nignaz for 1,300 years, and they're going to say when Chazal says nignaz, as we see what they said by the Aaron, we see what they say by the Luchas, we see what they say by the Mata Aaron, with the terminology of Nignaz and Chazal, that means forever until Mashiach. Pro-camp will defend. Is that really so true? Is that consistent? Do we see that? Well, if you look in the Bereshis Rabbah, it says Pari was Nignaz the Tzfuah during the years of plenty. Yeah, it was nignaz, and that's something that wasn't gone forever. And when the mun, the second pair of mun, it says you put away from mishmeres for Shabbos, right? Rashi says you were goinez it for Shabbos, and even the who is it again? It says, and even the Medrash Tanchuma himself says that Yosef, when Yosef was in Mitzrayim, Nevuah was nignaz. The Medrash Tanchuma himself that Nevuah was nignaz from Yaakov Avinu. Nignaz what? For 22 years until he reunited with Yosef, and then he got it back. So you see, nignaz doesn't mean until Mashiach, and therefore that raya seemingly is not the way. Now the strange thing about it is I really think that kasha is not such a strong kasha. We had a very solid defense of that kasha l'chayira, but this is the one that Reb Chaim Kanievsky famously goes with. So I don't know why. It seems like it's not the strongest.
He uses it for the anti.
He uses it as the anti. The reason that we don't, because the Medrash says it's nignaz. And also, by the way, how did the anti-camp defend that we don't learn halachas from Midrashim? So they say that we're not learning halachas, we're not learning a psak from the Medrash, we're learning a fact. It's just that we're getting information. The information is that it's nignaz to Mashiach, but not that it's a halachic psak. Halachic psak we don't learn. Information, why not? Next. The Sifri has a story where Rabbi Yossi went and he asked an old man, what do you do for a living? So the old man said, I catch glazon and I dye tzitzis. And Rabbi Yossi said, glazon's available? And the old man said, no, it's guarded by a spider that bites or whatever, and it's nignaz l'tzadikim l'asad lavai. So the anti-camp quotes the Sifri and says, you see, it's not available. And over here you even see what nignaz means. Nignaz l'tzadikim l'asad lavai. It might be 1,300 years, but it ain't l'asad lavai, right? Busted is what the anti-camp claims. The pro-camp says, hold on. Wait a second. Do you actually understand the Sifri that you actually just quoted me? Did you pay attention to the whole Sifri? What did this guy exactly do for a living? Wait a second. This guy was a chilazon catcher and a chilazon dyer. But then all of a sudden, 3 seconds later in his conversation, he says, it's nignaz l'tzadik and lasan lavai. I don't even understand what the Sifri is talking about. And since when is every Sifri la halacha anyways? So, I don't understand it. Who says it's la halacha? What's your raya? And I was talking this over with somebody who suggested maybe the whole spider guarding it and biting, maybe that's referring to the Romans. Because once again, the Romans said that it's only allowed to be used for royalty, which means it was actually really around, but you weren't able to use it. So, not such a good raya. Another raya another kasha, the anti-camp, the Aruch HaShulchan says, there's somebody, he doesn't quote the Regina by name, there's somebody that claims to have found the Techeilles, but the Maisa, the Oilam doesn't go with him, and the Maisa, it's nignaz l'asad lavai. Yeah? So, people want to quote the Aruch HaShulchan, so you see it's nignaz l'asad lavai. So, I don't see what the big raya is. First of all, was that a prediction? Was that Nevuah? What exactly? I'm not exactly sure what the Aruch HaShulchan meant over there. It's it's a prediction of the Aruch HaShulchan, and even if I say it's his nevuah, whatever, the Aruch HaShulchan, as great as he was, just if he said his opinion was it was going to be gone to Lasad Lavai, so we have other people to rely on. The Regina at the same time was saying we could bring it back. And in fact, the Maril, the Radbaz, the Malbim, the Chem de Shlema, and the Levush all say we could bring the Techeilles back, the Chilazim back. So therefore, what did the Aruch HaShulchan mean? I'm not really sure. But even if he meant that he had a Nevuah or whatever, we don't necessarily have to go with the Aruch HaShulchan on that. All right, another quote that the anti-camp asks the kasha, that the Arizal says that the mitzvah of Techeilles is only Bizman HaMikdash. So only Bizman HaMikdash, no Techeilles nowadays. Sorry guys, you're going into the Arizal, not happening. The pro-camp's going to say, wait, hold up a second. Do you understand this Arizal? because I don't understand the result. It's only Bisman HaMikdash. So how exactly did all the Amoraim have it? All these Gemaras with Amoraim having it, Rabbanim Savrei having it. How did they have it if it was only Bisman HaMikdash? There was no Mikdash Bisman Amoraim. There was no Mikdash Bisman Rabbanim Savrei. So that's first of all. Second of all, is every Arizal halacha? No. And especially, the only Arizals that you generally bring halacha are the Arizals that are in a halachic format. The Arizals that are in a Gadata type format, which this is, are barely ever halacha. So therefore, I don't think you have much of a kasha. Okay. Next. The program brings a raya like this. Not a raya. Raya is the wrong word. Okay, fine. We just been through around 18 proofs for, 18 proofs against, roughly, using this murex for Techeilles. Safek the reis al chumrah. Surely we have a principle in the Torah. When you have a safek the reis al chumrah, everybody should be chayiv to wear Techeilles because safek the reis al chumrah. Everybody agree that Techeilles is the reis? Yeah. This seems like a safek. One side has a gazillion proofs, yeah, the other side has a gazillion proofs, no. I don't know, hard to balance this stuff. Even if you don't like all my proofs, you gotta like some of my proofs. Safek the reis al chumrah. Therefore, you should have to wear it. So the anti-camp is going to say one of three answers as to why they will not have to wear. Either because safek, you got no rayas, you got nothing. We have a Gemara that gives simanim. How many of the simanim did you guys get with your murex? 0. Is it the color of the sea? No. Is it a fish? No. Is it blue as natural color? No. Does it come up once every 70 years? No. So therefore you got nothing.
But for us, looking at the different shittahs of whole what, there are Achronim that say like this, Achronim that say like that. For us, it's a safek.
So maybe. We'll I want to first break it from we have to view it from the eyes of an anti, and then we'll be able to step back and make our own decisions in a minute. But from the eyes of, so that's how some of the anti will go with that approach. There's nothing here. Now, once again, most of the proofs are the archaeological proofs were the more compelling proofs, if you remember from last week. The Gemara, if you want to fit it in, you can fit it in. If you want to say it doesn't fit in, you can say it doesn't fit. You can really go either way with the Gemaras. That's the real truth. But the archaeological proofs, that was what was more compelling. The scientific proofs, that was much more compelling. But the anti-camp, some of them are going to say, listen, I start with the Gemara, it doesn't fit in. I got no safek. Next reason not to wear is even if you want to tell me, or not to say safek the reis al chumrah, I should say, even if you want to tell me that maybe there is some degree of a safek over here, but when it comes to safek the reis al chumrah, there's a shita of the Rabbi Menachem Zemba, or the Pri Megadim, that says that we only have safek the reis al chumrah when post fulfilling the action, I am vadai going to have fulfilled the safek. Meaning, did you bench or did you not bench? I'm in safek. Okay, but if I go and bench, then I definitely benched. Whereas over here, I'm in safek if it's Techeilles, and if I put on the Techeilles, I am not sure that I have been Mekayim in the midst of Techeilles, and Lefi Menachem Zemba and the Pri Megadim, the klal of safek the reis al chumrah does not apply to such a scenario. So the anti-camp will respond. First of all, that whole tzad doesn't sound so mistaber. If you have a chance to be Mekayim mitzvah deraisa, so why shouldn't you have to do it? In Svara, you should have to do it. Who cares whether at the end you'll have certainly fulfilled it or you wouldn't have certainly fulfilled it? Simple Svara would dictate that you should have to do it anyways. Secondly, the Mishnah Brewer seems to paskin not like this Rabbi Menachem Zemba and Pri Megadim, and the Mishnah Brewer seems to paskin that in a malkum of safek deraisa, you have to do it even if you're not sure at the end you're going to be Mekayim. What's the example? First day Sukkot, you get your lulav and esrog. You didn't have it all day. You get your lulav and esrog bein hashmashos. Zak the Shulchan Aruch and Mishnah Berurah, they would say, shake that lulav and esrog. Why? Safek the reis l'chumrah. Maybe you'll be mekayim. Do you know for sure that you're mekayim? No, maybe it's night. Next case is you have tefillin. You're in town, there's only one pair of tefillin in the town. Safek kosher. Do you wear it? Zak the Shulchan Aruch, Mishnah Berurah. Yes, you wear it. It's safek whether you be mekayim the chiyuv. Yeah, don't make a bracha on the tefillin. Don't make a bracha on the lulav. But do you shake the lulav? Yeah. Do you wear the tefillin? Yeah. Are you sure that you're mekayim? No. So you see that the Shulchan Aruch and the Mishnah Berurah don't paskin like the Menachem Zemba and the Pri Megadim that you have no safek the reis l'chumrah when you're not sure that you're automatically going to be mekayim the chiyuv by doing the action. Furthermore, the anti-camp will defend and say, okay, even if you want to claim you're not bound by safek the reis l'chumrah and you don't have an absolute chiyuv, could you deny it's still a good thing? So that is what the pro-camp will claim. The anti-camp will explain, you know why we're not going to wear it? A couple of reasons. So one of the reasons given is we don't even know how many strings to wear. This is a machlokes rishonim. We have no mesorah on this. We have the Rambam says out of the 8 strings, one of them is blue. We have the Ravid that says 2 are blue. We have Rashi, Taisus, and Rosh that say 4 are blue. Who knows what to do? And don't get me even started with tying it. How many different shittas there are and machlokes of how to tie it. So I don't even know what to do. I have no mesorah what to do, and I have no psak in this. Therefore, we're not going to wear it because we don't even. Even if you want to tell me to wear it, I don't know what to do. Zakt the pro camp. The pro camp will say, "What? You're Ashkenazi? You don't know what to do?" The Mishnah Berurah says in 3 places in Orach Chaim Yud Aleph Nun Ches, Tes Zayin, and Tes Yud Daled that we paskin like as you would expect us to paskin, Roy Rishonim. Rashi, Taisus, Rosh. You have 4 out of 8 strings are Techeilles. And furthermore, if you do 4 strings, maybe B'chal Masayim Mana, if you got the 1, you got the 2, l'chayra, that should be fine. Now, having 4 strings is the most expensive way to go, but whatever, that's a different point. But so l'chayra, that's what you should do. It happens to be interesting. I think most people that wear Techeilles don't really go with the 4 strings. There's a lot of Rambam going around, there's a lot of Ravid going around, Tzarchi and why exactly, but it might be financially based. That is definitely a possibility. So we'll see if there's a chasarn. Next, there's a Gemara in Bava Metzias that says, we quoted this Gemara earlier, Hashem will take retribution against those that wear strings that are colored blue with clay eloin and pretending as if they are Techeilles. So you wear these fake strings, these fake blue, that's clay eloin, pretending that it's Techeilles, and Hashem's going to take retribution. Guys, I don't know about you, but I don't want to see Hashem's retribution. You know what I'm saying? So why should I wear your Techeilles and risk getting the retribution of Hashem? I don't want to play, I don't want to go Russian roulette with HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Techeilles, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to bet everything, bet the dice go to blue or whatever. What game is it? Roulette? Roulette's blue, green and red? Black and red? Whatever. Black, red, the different colors that the Rishonim say, yeah? So, don't worry, I'm very cool, I'm just not such a big gambler. Whatever, it works out. So, I don't want to put everything on I don't want to put all in on blue. You know what I'm saying? I know. So Lamaisa, that's what how does the anti-camp, the pro-camp defend against that taina? Well, first thing is, according to the Marshal and the Rush, that whole retribution is only going to the people that sell it, not the people that wear it. And the people that sell it, they're very confident that what they're doing is all right. So they're not worried. Number two is that old Gemara, the simple pshat in the Gemara, is a guy who knows what the real Techeilles is. And why is he wearing clay eloin? He's wearing clay eloin because that's the cheap fake. And he doesn't want to spend money on the expensive Techeilles, and he buys the cheap fake in its place, and he relies on that. So Over here, there's no sheikhs. This is a guy who doesn't know what real Techeilles is and is spending much more money to possibly get Techeilles. How are you going to tell me that retribution is going on that guy? L'chayra and Svara, there's no retribution on that guy. Fine. There's another interesting thing. There's a requirement that the strings of the tzitzis need to be min haknaf. What does it mean, min haknaf? So there's two pshatim. I mean, it really starts in Tanaim, makes it all the way to Mechaber Ramah. The Mechaber passes that min haknaf means the strings need to be the same material as the beged. The Ramah paskins that the strings need to be, I said it the wrong way around. Mechaber says the strings need to be the same color as the beged, as the garment. The Ramah says for the Ashkenazim, the strings need to be the same material as the beged. Now, what do we paskin? So, as you would expect, the Mishnah Berurah goes like the Ramah, and we paskin that you need the strings to be the same material as the beged. However, lechatchila, one should be machmir to have the strings the same color as the beged. Yeah. Lechatchila, you should be machmir to have the strings the same color as the beged. So, Zak the anti-camp, if you go and start coloring these strings with your funny blue stuff over there, you're going to end up with your strings being a different color than the beged. You're going to lose the din lechatchila of the Mishnah Berurah of going like Shittas Rambam and the Mechaber of having the strings the same color as the beged. So Rabbi say, why would I want to give up on the din lechatchila for? Why not?
Because Shem says have a bunch of white strings and a bunch of blue strings.
Very good. So the pro camp. The pro camp will defend, and the pro camp will say that, listen, it's quite clear that Hashem wants you to have some of the strings blue. And the Min HaKanaf is only going on, in Shittas Rambam, the Min HaKanaf is only going on the non-Techeilles strings. The non-Techeilles strings are still white like the beged. They're not going on the Techeilles strings. So if they're not going to the Techeilles strings, the din doesn't apply to these strings. Oh, maybe I have it wrong. Okay, maybe I have it wrong. But the whole din of Min HaKanaf is obviously going on the strings that I'm not trying to fulfill the chiyuv of Techeilles. And furthermore, to possibly, why should I give up a possibility of being Mekayim and Mitzvah D'Oraisa in order to get a lichatchila of the Mishnah Berurah? But once again, if your starting off point is this stuff is like no chance, no sheikhs, whatever, so it's not such a kasha. But if your starting off point is it's a decent chance, so then l'chayra it is a good kasha. Fine. Another possibility. I heard someone claim that there's an issue of Baal Tosef. That I'm not even going to explain it because I didn't understand it. I didn't understand what the claim. Even if you hold that this isn't the real deal, I don't see why it should be Baal Tosef. You're not adding strings. I don't see why it should be Baal Tosef. That must be there is even a sheet that you have 16 strings. We don't pass it that way, but I don't see why it should be Baal Tosef. I didn't really understand the Taina, so I'm not even going to defend against it because I didn't really understand it. Okay, next Taina I heard is they're wearing the Techeilles and being machmer to wear Techeilles is the issue of mechse kiyura. You're not supposed to be such a Baal Gaiva around. We see, for example, in the sugya of wearing Rabbeinu Tam tefillin. So a lot of the poskim say, you don't just go flip on Rabbeinu Tam tefillin, I'm being machmer. If the minhag is that you're not machmer, the mesorah is Rashi's good enough and we rely on Rashi, so therefore that's what we wear. We wear Rashi. We don't go and be machmer for Rabbeinu Tam. That's mechse kiyura. Now, one thing's clear, by the way. If you're in a community that wears Rabbeinu Tam, it's like your Lubavitch, for example, and everybody wears Rabbeinu Tam, or whatever Chasidus, and everybody wears Rabbeinu Tam, there's no mechse kiyura. It's not, Mr. Machmer is wearing Rabbeinu Tam. That's normal to wear Rabbeinu Tam, and you don't look like a Baal Gaiva. Another case where we see it is wearing tefillin by mincha. So wearing tefillin by mincha, So the place can say it's mechsek yura. There's a good. Halachically, there's a good reason, to wear tefillin by mincha. But who are you, Mr. Machmer, that you wear tefillin by mincha? Now I once heard a psak for a guy who was a shtickle, more than a shtickle leitz, a big leitz, but he was a Yer Shemayim leitz. So he wanted to wear tefillin for mincha, and he got and he also wanted to wear like 5 pairs of tzitzis. There's another thing that you want to walk around with 5 pairs of tzitzis. Mechsek yura. Who are you being machmer 5? It's not normal. If you're Rav Scheinberg, you could pull these things off, but a regular guy, you can't pull these things off. So who are you that you think you could wear 5 pairs of tzitzis? This guy, he wore 5 pairs of tzitzis. This is late Yer Shemayim, and he wore tefillin by mincha. Why? Because he got a psak. Don't worry, it's not mechsek yura. Everybody's going to say you're just a lates. And since everybody's going to say you're just a lates, therefore, for you, it's not mechsek yura. Okay, I thought it was time. I just threw it in there because it was a geschmacka psak, and I agree with the psak. And he is a lates. Fine. So over here, you want to walk around. So if you're part of a world that wears techeilles, you're part of a community that wears techeilles, right? A yeshiva that wears techeilles, a community that wears techeilles. So then there's no mechsek yura that you're walking around with techeilles because you're a Zilberman's guy and you wear techeilles. So there's not mechsek yura. The reason why you wear techeilles is not because I'm Mr. Machmer. No, I'm a Zilberman guy, so I wear techeilles. That's not a mechsek yura. But is there a mechsek yura for, you pop into yeshiva with your techeilles? So it kind of depends on your social circles. It depends on who you are as well. If you're a guy that's just like a schmackster, and everybody's going to walk with your techeilles, you say you're a schmackster. If you're the guy that people think, he's probably trying to be firmer than the next guy, then if you're doing it because you want to be firmer than the next guy, then potentially there could be a mechsek yura. Does that mean you automatically shouldn't do it? Doesn't mean you automatically shouldn't do it, but it's definitely a tzad not to do it. It's probably better for that guy who's in a possibility of mechsek yura, probably better for him to tuck it in. And therefore, if you tuck it in, then there's no mechsek yura. Oh, you should wear tzitzis out? Wear 2 pairs. Techeilles in and white pair out. No, once again, there's the only problem with mechsek yura, 2 pairs out. Yeah, you're right. Everybody knows who wears 2 pairs, and I know and we all know who we know that wears 2 pairs. But still, it's not mechsek yura when you're not wearing it out. That's what I think. But yes, there's yesh l'falpa for that. So if it's the type of thing where it's commonplace and it's normal to wear techeilles, then there's no mechsek yura, 100%. That's what I'm saying. It depends on the time, depends on the place, depends on the circles, depends on who you're dealing with. Fine. Next claim that I heard from the anti-camp, why not to wear techeilles, even if it's safek? Listen, if we just start wearing techeilles, everybody starts wearing techeilles, people are going to treat it and assume that it's vadei techeilles. Once people start thinking that it's vadei techeilles, you know what's next? People are going to start wearing their techeilles on their linen tzitzis, bedafka. Because you know that when you have techeilles, then you're allowed to have shatnez in your tzitzis. Because the mitzvah says they went to the same pasuk, and therefore we're not allowed to wear shatnez with our regular tzitzis if you don't have techeilles. So there's the claim that if everybody would start wearing techeilles, then all of a sudden you're going to end up with people walking around with shatnez, which we don't want with a safek techeilles for people to walk around with shatnez. The pro-camp will defend. Listen, the people that make the tzitzis, they know what they're doing. They're not going to end up putting wool strings on linen garments. And it's not going to come to that. Huh?
Was wearing a linen garment with techeilles.
One more time?
There's a person who was selling in America linen garments.
Really? Somebody was selling it in America? Really?
They found that the posting of his went crazy about it. He wants to bring this as a raya, and you shouldn't be wearing techeilles anymore.
Very interesting. Okay, so Maisa Shahaya Kachoya, and apparently this already happened. Okay, that's news for me. Okay, so that's one of the. So, all right, I'm surprised that happened, but I guess it happened. Fine. Yeah. Okay. Next, the pro will say like this. That if it's true that the murex is some rays that I added in the end. If it's true that the murex is not the real techeilles, And I don't understand when the Gemara said, "Ein Techeilles el min hachalazon," right? The Murex is around Bisman Chazal, right? And they said, "Ein Techeilles el min hachalazon." If the Murex is not the real Techeilles, shouldn't the Gemara have warned against the Murex? It should have said, "Ein Techeilles el min hachalazon nachoin," "Ein Techeilles el min hachalazon kosher," or name the real Techeilles, "Ein Techeilles el min hachalazon this," and I would have known, and not the Murex Chilazon. So I should have had, if the Murex isn't the Chilazon, the Gemara should have been careful enough to exclude it. So that proves that the Murex is the real Chilazon. The anti-camp will defend against that proof, and they'll say that whole question is based on the premise that the Murex is a subcategory of Chilazon. Meaning the Murex is a type of Chilazon. I don't know what a Chilazon is. Maybe the Chilazon is something totally different than the Murex, and I would have never no havamina to include the Chilazon, the blue fish. Why would I have to exclude a brown snail? You know what I'm saying? So therefore, what shaykhs? Okay. Next proof for the pro camp is Rabbi Yaakov Emden, and I tried to find this, I couldn't find it, but apparently Rabbi Yaakov Emden says that Techeilles comes from the famous, well-documented Tyron dye from the Murex. So apparently Rabbi Yaakov Emden says this. So you see, Rabbi Yaakov Emden was a fan of Murex Techeilles. The anti-camp says, so why exactly didn't he wear it? Why didn't he get his hands on? So, I mean, it could be just practical, he couldn't get his hands on it. But that's, or it could be that Rabbi Yaakov Emden didn't mean it mamish l'maisa psak, whatever. He was just like theorizing, so to speak, but it wasn't saying halach l'maisa. Once again, I tried to find the text and I didn't find it. So I wanted to have like a better feeling of what he was saying, but I couldn't find it. Okay, the anti-camp will say the Murex. This is an interesting, very interesting taina that I heard, and. I'm not going to say my opinion yet. I want to see what the Olam feels. So the anti-camp said the Murex dye can't be the real Techeilles. Why? Because as we said previously, that the dye of the Murex is molecularly identical to the dye that comes from indigo, from clay Elon. And the Gemara gives a test to differentiate between clay Elon and the Murex dye. Now we don't know how to perform this test. We weren't able to perform it. We couldn't figure it out. But so some of the anti-camp wants to say that since it's molecularly exactly the same, the Murex and the clay Elon, therefore the test obviously wouldn't work, and we need something that the test is going to work. So it can't be. We need something that's different than indigo. If it's the same exact thing as indigo, then obviously a test won't work on it, and therefore it can't be the right thing. But it's very interesting. But it's a little bit counterintuitive. This
If you're being somewhat on science.
No, but correct.
You're not being somewhat on science.
So this is very interesting. So what does the pro camp defend? It's like it's true with a basic scientific test. You cannot tell the difference between the Murex dye and the indigo dye. But if you go for a more sophisticated scientific test, I don't know the technical terms, but if you go for a more sophisticated scientific test, you could tell the difference. Who knows? Maybe the test of Chazal was like the more sophisticated scientific test that was able to tell the difference.
That was more primitive, no?
It seems primitive, but whatever. I don't know. Maybe that test worked and was able to tell the difference.
There was a little bit of Kabbalah in it, so they could tell.
I don't know.
Wow.
You know?
That's the pro camp design.
Yeah, the pro camp is saying that Lemaisa we could tell the difference. I agree it's hard to tell the difference, but there are ways of telling the difference. So maybe the test of Chazal, which we don't understand anyways, maybe they was able to tell the difference. I think it's pretty simple tarets. Okay, the anti-camp says we can't have this idea. Some people wearing Techeilles, some people not wearing Techeilles. Loit is going to do agudas. We can't have two different Klal Yisraels. These guys wearing Techeilles, these guys not wearing Techeilles. We can't have that, and therefore don't wear Techeilles. The pro camp would answer as you would expect. Okay, so let's everybody put on Techeilles. Secondly, the way that Klal Yisrael has developed, for better or for worse, is there used to be a minhag in the shtetl, and everybody followed the minhag in the shtetl, and that's how it was in certain places in Europe for centuries. But ever since everybody got to America, and everybody got to Eretz Yisrael, and everybody got to England, and everybody came from their own places, there ended up being a big mishkababel cholem padim and hugim. And that's how it works in Klal Yisrael. Klal Yisrael, this guy is wearing a black hat, and this guy's wearing a better time, this guy's not, this guy's wearing a gartel, and this guy's not wearing a gartel. That's just not how it works anymore. Is it a problem? I don't know whether it's a problem or not, but don't pick this one thing, which is a possibility, in Mekayim Mitzvah D'Oraisa, as your loitus going to do thing to shechtas mitzvah over loitus going to do. However, we're going to answer everything else. We'll answer this as well. The anti-camp will quote the Ben Yehoyada. The Ben Yehoyada says, this color blue attracts the Sitra Achar. Why does the color blue attract the Sitra Achar? I don't know. But apparently the color blue attracts the Sitra Achar. When it's Techeilles, it wards it off. If it's not Techeilles, it doesn't ward it off. Guys, I don't want to play with fire with the Sitra Achar. So, what does the pro camp say? First of all, since when do we start pasking halacha by some Ben Yehoyada? I'm not discounting the Ben Yehoyada intrinsically, but since when do we pass halacha from a Ben Yehoyada? Secondly, if it's a possibility of being Mekayim Mitzvah D'Oraisa, and somebody's trying to be Mekayim Mitzvah D'Oraisa, it's not mistaber that they're going to be punished for trying to be Mekayim Mitzvah D'Oraisa. Okay, next reason why somebody doesn't wear it. Some people do not wear Techeilles because it's weird in some circles to wear Techeilles. And people want to be normal. So what about that? So Chayra and Yiddishkeit, you should be focused on doing what's right, not what's doing what's normal. But the mice, if you want to be normal, it's not a problem. Tuck your Techeilles in and put your white strings out, and you could still be pretty normal. Fine. Lemaisa, what do the Gedolim say? So as we're going to see, the Gedolim by and large don't wear Techeilles. The question is why not? So Reb Chaim Kanievsky famously goes with the medrash that says it's nignaz, and Reb Chaim Kanievsky understands nignaz means it's nignaz until B'zman Mashiach. And if it's nignaz to B'zman Mashiach, it's not coming back, and I don't care what rights you have, it's all a mute point, it doesn't count. What does Rav Asher Weiss say? Rav Asher Weiss, he does not wear Techeilles. Why? Because he feels that none of the proofs are compelling. He says we have a Gemara list of proofs. None of these things fit well into the Gemara. It's true you could fit them into the Gemara. If I had a baskol from Shemayim that said the Murex is the Techeilles, yes, then I would be able to figure out how the Gemaras make sense and fit it all in. But that baskol hasn't come. And if that baskol hasn't come, who says the Murex is Techeilles? All the archaeological proofs are all based on, makes sense, maybe, they're all about making theories. None of them are rock solid proofs, and therefore Rav Asher Weiss says there's no proof that the Murex is Techeilles, and therefore he doesn't wear. And with most of them, I totally hear where he's coming from. It happens to be the one that Clay Elon is molecularly the same to the Murex. I think that might be more than a speculation point, but still, it is not an absolute proof. So the Meister of Asher Weiss says, I don't see any solid proofs, and if I don't see any solid proofs, therefore I don't view it as Techeilles, but I don't view it as Techeilles, therefore I'm not wearing it. So you get he says there's no point. He doesn't say you lose out. He says there's no point. Yeah, it's just, you're wasting $100. The stipler is an interesting thing. The stipler was pre-Murex. But they say that the stipler was quoted as saying, People watch me too closely. I take my glasses, put them on or put them off before I learn. All of a sudden, everybody's putting their glasses on and off before they learn. I scratch my head like this, everybody needs to scratch their head like this. People don't leave me alone. If people left me alone, I would take on some chumras. And I asked him, like what? And he said, I would wear the techeilles of the Regina. But he wasn't, because people didn't. Now, at the end of the day, it's a story, and stories are stories. So stories are worth whatever the stories are worth. But that is the story. Talking about stories, Rav Sternbach. So what is Rav Sternbach called? So Rav Sternbach has an original letter that came out saying that these rayas are all not serious rayas, and therefore he doesn't believe the murex is the Techeilles. Then what happened is there were all sorts of shmuas coming out. I heard one shmua that Rav Sternbach wears beseser, and then after listening, I heard many shmuas that he wears occasionally beseser. What's pshat and wearing it occasionally? I don't know what pshat is in wearing it occasionally, but apparently he puts it on occasionally beseser. Now, let's be clear for a second. If he held there was a real solid 50% safek of it being Techeilles, Rav Sternbach is not scared of chumras. I think he keeps one or two chumras, if you know him. So therefore, it's all chiyuv, all halacha. Fine. So therefore, if he held there was 50% likelihood, the chayyim would be wearing 100% of the time. I'm assuming this. I'm not saying this as a fact. I'm saying this as an assumption. I'm assuming that Rav Sternbach holds, it's a 5% chance or something like that, a 3% chance, and for that small chance, he wants to wear it occasionally, that just in case. But his ikar psak l'chayr is that it is not. Rav Elyashiv. Let's have some fun. So Rav Elyashiv wrote a tshuva to Rav Feivel Cohen, the body of Shulchan, where he says the murex, we don't rely on the murex being Techeilles. Just like the Regina, science ended up deciding that the Regina was wrong. Who knows? Science might decide in a couple of years that the murex is wrong. So it might just be a phase. Furthermore, who knows how to be machriya, all those safek, all those machlokes rishonim of what's the right way, strings and tying, etc. Who knows how to be machriya this, and therefore no Techeilles. And that is what Rav Elyashiv's tshuva says. Now this is a story that many people say. I actually heard the story from Rav Hershel Schachter, but a lot of people say the story. So Rav Hershel Schachter and others claim that this is what happened. They came to Rav Elyashiv and they presented the Chevra still Techeilles came to Rav Elyashiv and presented him the proofs for the murex being the Techeilles. Rav Elyashiv apparently he wasn't completely sold on the proofs, but he didn't completely reject them either. I don't know exactly what percentage point he was, but somewhere in the middle, right? And apparently Rav Elyashiv asked them, how much does it cost for a pair of Techeilles? And they said, I don't know what the number was, let's just say $100, $200, whatever it was that they said was the cost of Techeilles. And Rav Elyashiv asked them, and if there was a demand now for 50,000 pairs, do you have the capacity to fulfill that demand? And they said no. So Rav Elyashiv said, so if I go put on tomorrow, there's going to be a demand of 50,000 pairs, and if it costs $100, $200 now, when there is a supply, when there's not a supply, who knows what the price will go to? And therefore, I am not going to wear. So that is what the story goes, Rav Elyashiv said. And therefore, he wasn't going to wear. Then, as Rav Schechter puts it, some genius, so one of the geniuses that were sitting there decided to put the story in his sefer and write that Rav Elyashiv really held that you should wear it mesafek, but he didn't want to be mechayev the ganze Welt to do that. And then at that time, Rav Elyashiv told one of his sidekicks, okay, write a tshuva that you shouldn't wear the murex Techeilles against it. So that is the story. Now, Is that story true? Is that story not true? I can't tell you for sure whether that story is true or not true. I definitely wasn't there. Many claim the story to be true. Some don't. There's one of Rav Elyashiv's Talmidim, Rav Mordechai Karp, says that he wrote Mechaber of a gazillion Svarim. So he says that Rav Elyashiv held it to safek, and therefore Rav Karp wears Techeilles. The problem is that a lot of Rav Elyashiv's Talmidim don't wear Techeilles, or most of them don't wear Techeilles. Do they wear a Beseser? I don't know. I haven't checked in their pants, but I don't know. But they definitely don't wear a Pegiloi, so I don't know what to do with the Rav Elyashiv. Let's keep on going. There some of the notable people that do wear. So Rav Belsky, he wore on his talis katan. He did not wear on his talis gadol. I actually saw Rav Belsky's Techeilles on his talis katan. I saw it with my own eyes. I actually didn't know that he wore Techeilles when I saw it, and I was quite surprised when I saw it. And he definitely did wear. I could testify myself that he wore Techeilles. So he wore on his talis katan. When he picked up his frock to sit down, you saw it. Fine. I saw it. So next is Rav Hershel Schachter is famed to wear the Techeilles, and he wears it out on his talis gadol as well. Rav Zalman Nechemia Goldberg wore the Techeilles. Rav Gershom Meltzer wears the Techeilles. Rav Avram Dov Orbach, Shmuel's brother, wore Techeilles. Talking about Rav Shmuel, there's Machlekes Metzias, and if Rav Shmuel Orbach wore Techeilles Beseser, Tzarkin Rav Mordechai Karp, as we mentioned, wore Techeilles. Rav Scheinberg, I saw in a picture of Rav Scheinberg wearing Techeilles. However, Rav Scheinberg might be less of a raya than the others, because Rav Scheinberg, he wore 100 pairs. So you tell Rav Scheinberg, here's a shita, you want to flip on a pair of Techeilles? Okay, fine, I'll put it on. It's not the same level of askama as the Rav Schechter or Rav Belsky wearing their one pair of tzitzis as Techeilles. You could do that, sure.
That's probably the most Techeilles you should do.
We'll see.
You have tan voice, you have white,
Yeah. Depending on who you ask. So let's keep on going. Rameir Moses. Yeah. So Rameir Moses wore Techeilles. Reb Machbod wears Techeilles. Reb Avadia ben Rav Yaakov ben Rav Avadia wore Techeilles. So Rav Avadia, the grandson of Rav Avadia, claims that Rav Avadia might wear Techeilles nowadays if he was able to. And I guess we're getting married now. I guess I'll take this up afterwards. Okay, so let's continue this after Ma'ariv. Okay, so as we were saying amongst some of the Sephardi Gedolim, Rameir Mazuz, Rav Machbod, something interesting, Rav Avadia ben Rabbi Yaakov ben Rav Avadia Yosef. That means Rabbi Yaakov Yosef's son. So he wears Techeilles, and he claims that he thinks nowadays his grandfather Rav Avadia would wear, after there's been much more proofs that have come out. But once again, tzarachin, because Rav Avadia's son Rabbi Yaakov Yosef does not wear. Also on the list of those that wear, Rav Dov Cook, he from Tveria, he wears many pairs of Techeilles. Rav Shalom Arush wears Techeilles. Rav Itchemeyer Morgenstern wears Techeilles. And once again, I said that Rav Shmuel Orbach, there are conflicting reports. Okay. Also, they say Rav Elia Ber Vachvogel wears Techeilles Beseser as well. And as I pointed out, Rav Belsky wears, Rav Schechter wears, and that's the Gershom Meltzer, once again, that's the list of those who wear. Now, what should you do? What should we do? What should we wear or should we not wear? So, Rav Schechter says that, listen, by wearing you don't lose anything except a little money, and by not wearing you're potentially being over the Isser of Baal Tigra. You're not allowed to take off from the Torah. If the Torah tells you to wear, and you have it, and you're not wearing, that's a potential Isser of Baal Tigra. So you should definitely wear. Reb Chaim Kanievsky said, you should not wear. When he was asked directly, should somebody wear? Is there any point in wearing? If I have it here in front of me that I own it already, should I wear it? And Reb Chaim Kanievsky said, no, you should not wear it to all the shaylas. Why? Tzarchin. But Reb Chaim Kanievsky said, no, I think the reason is because Reb Chaim Kanievsky his shita was that it's nignas to Mashiach, and that's how he understood the Medrash. And if that's how he understood the Medrash, I don't care about your rayos. We're not going against the Medrash, and the Medrash says it doesn't exist, it's not around, and it's not around. That seems to be the shita of Reb Chaim. Rav Asher Weiss says there's no reason to wear it because it doesn't fit the proofs from the Gemara. And if it doesn't fit the proofs of the Gemara, then there's no reason to wear it. When Rav Asher Weiss was asked, is there any downside to wear it? Is there anything wrong with wearing it? And Rav Asher Weiss said, no, there's nothing wrong with wearing it. There's no downside. You don't lose something, but I just don't think there's any point of wearing it. Interesting, when Rav Belsky was asked, should you wear Techeilles or should you not wear Techeilles? So Rav Belsky said that learn the sugya and decide. I don't know if that was to anybody. I guess it was to people that knew how to learn the sugya. But Rav Belsky said, learn the sugya yourself, go through the sugya, and decide what to do. And that's what you should do. I have a question which I think we all may be wondering. Why is it that it's more accepted to wear Techeilles in, we'll call it, let's say, the more Dati Lumi type communities, and it is less accepted and less common in the Haredi communities? What is the reason for this? So, and by the way, it's strange because in general, the Haredi communities are the ones that like chumras, and the Dati Lumi communities much less in towards liking chumras. So what's going on here? So I'll give you a couple of theories. The question really bothered me, and I'll tell you what I was thinking. So, first of all, a lot of the original founders were more members of the Dati Lumi communities. So just the way that things spread, whether you want to call it politics or you want to call it, that's just the way people are team-oriented. And if that's the team that it started, so it's hard to cross over from one team to the next team. That's not a very halakhical, hashkafical reason, but it might be a practical point. Number two, the main proofs, the more clearer proofs are from science. As we said, the Gemaras, you could, very easily push the Gemaras this way or push the Gemaras that way. The proofs, you could see it, you could see the Murex in the Gemaras if you're looking for them, and if you're looking for the Murex not to be in the Gemaras, you can see that they're not in the Gemaras. The Gemaras go both ways. But the main proofs and the proofs that really grab you for the Murex is the scientifical proofs. And Kiyadua, that the Haredim are more suspicious of science in general, whereas the Dati Lumi world is relatively more accepting of science. And if those are the main proofs, so you'll see why that will make it in more. Number three is one of the reasons that the Haredim, it's less popular in the Haredi world, I should say, is, we call it the Beis Halevi, or we could just call it general, we don't have a mesorah of wearing Techeilles. And in general, the Haredi world is more relatively focused on mesorah than the Dati Lumi world. All sorts of things you'll find it. Names, I don't know. Haredim, you want to use a name that the Klal Yisrael has been using for generations, whereas the Dati Lumi world is very happy picking a name from Tanakh which hasn't been used for generations. Is there anything intrinsically wrong with that? No, not at all. But it's not following the mesorah. The Haredim are relatively more interested in following the mesorah. Number four, there's a well-established hashkafa that the Haredi community has. The term was coined by the Chazon Ish. Once again, the term has a meaning in the Mishnayos, but taking it out of context. And this is a hashkafa of the Chazon Ish. Chodesh Asur min haTorah. We don't start changing things. We don't do things new. We keep it similar to the mesorah idea, but a little bit different. We don't make up new things. Chodesh Asur min haTorah. We don't start with our smart ideas. We try to do things just like they were in the past. Now, if it was that this was 100% Techeilles, I don't think anybody would be claiming the hashkafa of Chodesh Asur min haTorah when it's clear cut, this is what you have to do. But once we're in the world of perhaps sfekus or unknown, there is a tendency to fall back on that chodesh asur min haTorah. If, we don't start changing things, this is how things work, so this is how we're going to keep it, you need a much greater level of proof to push things to change, because we frown away from change. And I think that is a big part of the Haredi mentality. Okay, so Lamaisa, how do we conclude? So number one, if your Rebbe wears Techeilles, if your Rebbe holds you should wear Techeilles, then I believe you, without a doubt, certainly should wear Techeilles. If your Rebbe holds against wearing Techeilles and is anti-wearing Techeilles and holds it's the wrong thing for one of the various reasons and suggestions that we gave, maybe it's going to lead to shotness, or whether it's Mechsikiyura, or whether it's whatever it is that he holds, we give a whole list of reasons, and he's against it, follow your Rebbe and do not wear. Now, what if you are just a general guy who, not have a specific Rebbe that goes one way or the other way, and you just want to know what to do? So this is a little tricky. I'll say it like this. The mainstream Haredi world, and there are plenty of exceptions, but the mainstream Haredi world doesn't wear, and certainly doesn't wear out. Now, does that mean that you can't wear out? It definitely does not mean that you can't wear out. And if you learned the sugya and you feel that you want to wear, go for it. I think you should be wearing it not mitaris vadayas. You shouldn't be wearing it with the mindset that you for sure have the Techeilles, but rather you should be wearing it as, I'm trying to do a chumrah because maybe this is the right side. And I think nowadays there's enough people wearing that it's not like you're being mevaza the other opinions. Now, at the end of the day, to try to say that people definitely should be wearing Techeilles is difficult, because as we see, the roiv of the Gedolei Poskim of the last 20 years have not come out saying wear Techeilles. There are some big ones, but the majority and the mainstream and the general roiv Poskim have not come out that way, so there's no way anybody could pressure anybody in saying you should be wearing Techeilles. But Lamaisa, if somebody feels that they like the rayas, they learn the sugi, they like the rayas, they want to wear it, then sure. And if somebody doesn't want to wear it out and they want to wear a Techeilles pair in and a white strings out because they socially think that's the right way to go, go for that as well. That's also a fine, very nice chumrah to do. So, L'maisa, let's just sum this up with one conclusion. If you don't have a specific Rebbe telling you to go one way or the other, so there's definitely no chiyuv to put on Techeilles. You definitely aren't, we're going to say, you're not chayiv to put on Techeilles. If you feel it's a chumrah that you want to do, as far as I'm concerned, go for it. It's I think it's a nice idea. But it's definitely our mesorah from our Gedolim as of now. Maybe things will change in the future, I don't know. But our mesorah from our Gedolim now is definitely not, we're not pushing it, and it's definitely not, this is what you have to do, and nobody has to feel guilty not doing it, and it's not the quote-unquote mainstream thing to do. But I think if somebody wants to do it, because in there definitely is a tzad in the poskim that this is a chumrah of doing it. So if somebody wants to do it, because in and have a great week.